Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. Go, gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maiden will fast likewise. And so will I go into the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. And in chapter 14, he said, for if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arrive to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? And for a moment I want to talk about being in position for the right time to be used by God. All right. In other words, being in the right place at the right time. Amen. This story Esther talked about a little Jewish girl who was raised by a cousin that adopted her as her after her family had died. And Esther, you know, she's a Jewish girl, and the king is, you know, it's amazing that she made it to the palace to be a queen. And sometimes we get caught up in what we are doing, and we don't think that God is able to deliver us in circumstances like these. We don't think we can be in the White House or in Congress. Even some of us need to be councilmen in our own city. But we don't think God can prepare us for that. You know, I was raised up over here in the projects here, and I had this little education in the black school, and I didn't go to no big college. We don't know what God has prepared us for. But we have to understand we need to be in the position that God has put us in to do great things in Jesus Christ. Now, another story over in Genesis, we see Joseph. Joseph being envied by his brother. Even his father said, must me and your mother also bow down to you? Because of the dream, the vision that God gave him, he was envied and hated by his own brother. And we do that. You know, we get jealous for no reason about don't know what they're going through, don't know what they have to endure, don't know what they're going to go through, but we get jealous and envy people who doing something that we are not doing. And sometimes the choices lies in us. You know, I'll ask a licensed nurse, a lot of the nurses' agents said, well, you know, y'all think y'all better. No, it's not that. It was a line we chose to either go to be a nurse's aide or just go on to be a nurse or higher. It's choices that we made that we try to blame other people. And Joseph had dreamed God was preparing Joseph for a great work. Wasn't nothing so special about him from his other brothers, maybe in his father's eyes, but not in God's eyes. But God saw somebody he can use. And ultimately here, God can use you when you're right. When you're real. Maybe not when you're right, but when you're real. And Joseph was real. The dreams were coming. You know, he was loved with his father. That's maybe why a lot of the animosity came between brothers. You know, we tend to favor one more than we favor the other. And thank God I never did that, because I got mad with one. I got mad with all of them. Didn't speak to none of them, you know. But Joseph was envy of his brother. His father made him a coat. And then, because envy tend to lead to other stuff, so they desired to kill Joseph. But one of the brothers said, no, we don't want to grieve our father. So they came up with an elaborate plan. And this is what I'm trying to show you. Even though they came up with the plan, they meant it for his wrong. God had already had everything in position to save Joseph and to use Joseph for his purpose. So God had a plan. No, you don't kill him. Somebody stood up, one of the brothers said, no, we're not going to kill him. So they put him in a ditch. And then the Egyptian came along, they sold him into slavery. See, all this, just like Jonah and the whale, all it was set up by God. That was no coincidence or by chance. God had a master plan. And we can walk in it, or we can choose to turn it our way. We us right from wrong, or we can just bypass everything. I'm going to do what I want to do. You know the old word, I'm grown. Ain't nobody tell me nothing. And God big is knocking, you know, in Revelation, he said, I knock at the door. If any man will open and come in, I will come in and talk with him. But we ignore the knock. We ignore direction. We ignore what God has in store for us because we ignore the word. We ignore the relationship that we need to have with God. We don't want to turn this off. We don't want to do anything to offend the friend right there who may not be a fanatic about Christ. And everybody love God ought to be a fanatic. You know, really. You ought to say, well, if somebody say, you're just a fanatic, you ought to tell them, thank you. I'm a fanatic for the right thing. But Joseph was set right in place. God planned for him to be sold into Egypt. God planned for him to be in Potiphar's house and all that was going on with his wife. Because in our destiny for God, and I can use that word, because we all have a purpose in life. But in our destiny, God has a destiny, a purpose for us. God has to discipline us. So you said, well, if he was in God's favor, then why he had to go through that? She lied on him, then he in jail. Then he helped somebody else, he stayed in jail. Because God has to purge us. God has to restore us. God has to renew us. God has to help us to teach us patience. To learn how to wait on the Lord and be a good cheer. We can wait on a lot of things, but when God, Lord, how much God, you would just bless me right now. God, I praise your name. God said, no, why can't you just praise my name? And go praise him. When praise goes up, blessing comes in. Stop trying. We need to stop trying to get God to do things out of his will, and we need to conform to God's will. So the plan is going along according to God's will. So when a famine came into the land, Joseph was already in place. The right place at the right time to save them same brothers that wanted to kill him and sold him and took him from his home. Took him from his father who loved him and put him on a strange land that he suffered. But in his suffering, he learned tolerance. He learned patience. He learned to walk in the will of God. And for those who always say, well, I think God ain't never been to that, ain't never been to that. You may not have to go through that if you just listen to what the word said to the church. Revelation, when he was talking to the church, he constantly told a lot of him what the Spirit has to say to the church. We are the church, and we are not listening to the Spirit of God. Then who is leading and who is guiding us? See, there's right, there's wrong. There's heaven, there's hell. There's Jesus, there's the devil. What in between? What makes you lukewarm instead of hot or cold? I don't even know what lukewarm is. The pastor was talking about the other night. I'm a coffee drinker. I want either hot or I want a cold. I don't want no lukewarm coffee. It doesn't have a good taste when it's lukewarm. It tastes better hot to me, but I will drink iced coffee. But when it get cold, then I'm throwing it in the microwave. Even with just a little warm, I'm throwing it in the microwave. And that's what God, no, he don't want no microwave saint now, don't get me wrong. But he wants us to choose this day who we shall serve. So now Joseph, God had put all this into his spirit. And Joseph have saved Egypt from what everybody have gone through. And one day his own brothers, who had hated him enough to say him, had to come before him. We serve an awesome God. And why we sitting there and act like he can't do this and he can't do that? Or I don't want to bother God. Ain't nothing in his word said how many times we could call on his name. Ain't nothing in his word that said, well, I'm going to bless you this one time because I got to bless you. Sister Jones over there. He said, come boldly to the throne of grace. And they came and he didn't, you know, jealousy. God had to get all that out of your heart. All of it. He purged us. While I'm going through this, to remove the jealousy, remove the impatience, remove that unwilling soul. He had to beat that, purge that out of us. We have to go back and say, God,